for being so good to me. And I want everybody before I leave. Look here. She's a super freak, super freak. She's super freaking, yeah. Temptation.
Have you ever listened to My Girl Super Freak or Rescue Me and believed that was the music of pure love? But what if I told you that behind those sweet melodies were souls haunted by an unquenchable addiction to one-night stands? Who locked themselves in a studio for 72 hours with 5 strangers to compose? Who quietly kept a diary of hundreds of nights of debauchery, then gifted a signed record with no recipient's name? And who left a final note confessing, "I never loved anyone for more than one night"? In this video, let's explore the list of 21 black singers who burned through their lives in a hunger for lust. 21. Johnny Taylor. When the philosopher of infidelity slept with over 200 women, let's start this list with a man once hailed as the philosopher of soul music. He was Johnny Taylor, born May 5, 1934, in Crawfordsville, Arkansas, blessed with a captivating voice that conquered audiences across America with the song, "Who's Making Love?" That was a track mocking betrayal, but ironically, it became a prophecy for his own life. After the unexpected success of 1968, Taylor began to believe he wasn't an ordinary man. He called himself the philosopher of betrayal and bluntly declared backstage, "Monogamy is a joke. I've slept with over 200 women, and I have no plans to stop." To him, every moral boundary was just a thin veneer, easily torn apart. The relentless touring quickly turned into a hunt for pleasure. In Memphis, Taylor hosted midnight prayer meetings, in reality, thinly veiled orgies. Female fans were invited, their names privately recorded in a black notebook, and every night ended in rushed trysts. The depravity peaked on the night of March 18, 1973, when he checked into the Howard Johnson Motor Lodge in Dallas. A housekeeper unexpectedly opened the door and found Taylor naked with 3 backup dancers from the tour. The room was littered with condom wrappers, gin bottles rolling under the bed, white powder suspected to be drugs scattered on the table, and the TV looping an NCAA basketball game. The incident nearly exploded into a national scandal. Leaked internal Columbia Records files later revealed Taylor had ordered his manager to pay each woman $500 in hush money to smother the rumors. But the disgrace had already spread across the music industry, cementing his image as a hypocrite mired in decadence. 3 decades later, the cost of his one-night stand addiction came due. When Taylor died on May 17, 2000, in Dallas of heart failure, the legacy he left behind was a tangled mess of lawsuits. 9 women simultaneously filed claims declaring he was the father of their children. In 2001, the Dallas Morning News published court records confirming at least 3 children he had never legally acknowledged. In the end, after all those years of dazzling fame, Johnny Taylor was left with an estate carved to pieces and a reputation shattered by countless nameless affairs. 20th Sly Stone, The Isolated Studio, and Nights of Madness. After Johnny Taylor, the wave of soul and funk continued to produce extraordinary talents, and Sly Stone was both the brightest proof and the deepest tragedy. Born March 15, 1943 in Texas, Sly was not merely a musician, he considered himself a cultural prophet. When dance to the music exploded in 1968, he openly declared that sex was a creative religion, and his music was only complete when blended with the experience of ecstasy. From then on, every tour became a chain of bizarre rituals. Backstage wasn't just a place to rest, but a space where he recruited disciples. These were young female fans, secretly recorded and scheduled by his management. For Sly, the line between work and desire blurred until it all but vanished. And the Pleasure Dome, an isolated studio in San Francisco, that was the pinnacle of his private world. The recording room was specially designed with a rotating bed, mirrored ceiling, and shifting colored lights that created a hypnotic atmosphere through the night. According to archived records, on the night of September 12, 1971, Sly and his entourage went through a collective composition session that lasted 72 straight hours. Those present later recounted that gin, drugs, and music blended into a trance with no exit. It didn't end there. In 1973, Sly's tour contract included a hidden clause allowing female guests into the studio at any time, coordinated directly by his manager. Numerous rumors claimed that at least 10 reels of tape capturing these sessions were discreetly stored, only to disappear when the record label terminated his contract. By 1975, the consequences began to close in on that debauched singer. Sly vanished for months, sank into severe paranoia, convinced government agencies were monitoring his creative energy. In the following years, his fame collapsed and his wealth evaporated amid endless lawsuits. In 2007, when Sly made a sudden return at the Grammys, the audience only saw a frail man with a vacant stare. So the one who once believed himself invincible was ultimately broken by his own addiction to extreme pleasure. 19. Bobby Womack, using women to get lucky. If Sly Stone turned collective pleasure into ritual, Bobby Womack chose to satisfy his desires as a private addiction, smoldering and ultimately devastating. Born in 1944 in Cleveland, Bobby rose to fame early with a raw, soulful voice, but personal turmoil dragged him into a downward spiral with no escape. After Sam Cooke's sudden death in 1964, Bobby shocked the industry when just a few months later, he married Barbara Campbell, Sam's widow. The entire music world saw it as an unforgivable betrayal. At the wedding, Sam Cooke's mother threw a tomato straight at Bobby's face, cursing him in front of the guests. But the tragedy didn't end there. During their marriage, Barbara caught Bobby in bed with her own daughter, Sam Cooke's child assistant. The incident shattered the family. Barbara chased him with a revolver. After the scandal, Bobby lost his support system and sank into cocaine and nights of debauchery as his only way to numb the shame. From 1971 onward, any Bobby Womack tour came with an unspoken demand. Every night, at least one female companion had to be arranged by his management. He called it the medicine to warm my voice and insisted that without women, he couldn't compose. Backstage at his shows was often littered with whiskey bottles, cocaine dust on the vanity, discarded dresses, and girls shuffling in and out before dawn. Personal diaries later revealed Bobby once spent a night in Detroit with 3 women at once, carrying on until morning. One entry read, "I looked in the mirror at 7 a.m., still unsatisfied, still feeling empty." That habit became a ritual. Before performing, he'd inhale opium, drink 2 glasses of whiskey, summon a woman to his room to get lucky, then walk on stage as if nothing had happened. More than once, recording sessions had to be paused because management caught Bobby taking a break with a fan right there in the studio. By the late 80s, the addiction to pleasure and drugs had stripped away all his fame and fortune. All those burning nights Bobby thought were freedom left only a gaping emptiness, something he never filled, even to the end of his life. 18. David Ruffin, Nameless Nights in the Dark. Have you ever wondered what happens when Motown's golden voice stands at the peak of fame, but the soul slips into the abyss of desire? For David Ruffin, the legendary singer of The Temptations, the answer lay in nights no one dared to mention. Born in 1941, Ruffin possessed not only an irresistible raspy voice, but also an obsession with one-night stands. By the mid-60s, when The Temptations exploded with My Girl, the tour backstage became a hidden stage for chaotic affairs. It was said that every night, Ruffin instructed his manager to compile a list of at least 3 female fans to choose from, all brought discreetly to the hotel. According to The Temptations' memoir, he had a peculiar habit. Before entering the room, he would always remove his sunglasses and stare each woman the eye for a few seconds as if measuring their worth before deciding who goes first. On those long nights, many would take their turn stepping through Ruffin's door, leaving behind beds strewn with clothes and the thick smell of alcohol. His insatiable appetite not only destroyed his public relationships, but also created a web of entanglements with the wives and girlfriends of fellow band members. On the night of August 14, 1968, at the Statler Hilton Hotel in Cleveland, a room service worker accidentally opened the door before anyone could stop him. The sight froze him in place. Ruffin, shirtless, slumped against the headboard, a glass of cognac in one hand, eyes glazed from opiates. Two young women, hair disheveled, wearing nothing but thin towels, bent over to pick up clothes scattered across the floor. In an armchair, another woman, the sister of one of the others, had passed out, a short dress draped over her thighs. After that night, Ruffin's reputation began to suffer. Even though the label paid to hush things up, the story spread through the touring circuit. His bandmates gradually distanced themselves, and tensions within the Temptations grew beyond repair. In the following years, David sank deeper into the white haze and fleeting affairs. His health crumbled, and the voice that once captivated the world began to fade. When he died in 1991 from an overdose, people mourned not only a genius, but also saw the bitter tragedy of a man who gave up everything to feed his hunger for desire. 17. Wilson Pickett, the legendary voice and Knights of Ruin. Wilson Pickett always took the stage like a conqueror, with slick hair, a confident smile, and the explosive voice that made him an irreplaceable soul icon. But behind every electrifying performance, his life was a string of wild, frenzied nights few dared to look at directly. From the earliest days of his fame, Pickett harbored a strange compulsion. After each show, he had to find a woman to fill the empty night. It's hard to believe, but there were nights he cycled through 3 women just to prove to himself that fame could buy anything, even fleeting affection. Then came one fateful summer night in June 1966. Alcohol flooded the Flamingo Club in Memphis. The crowd was still cheering when Pickett, drunk out of his mind, began harassing a female server right in front of the bar. At first, everyone thought it was just another crude joke, but within seconds, it turned into a nightmare. When she resisted, Pickett erupted in rage, grabbing her arm and yanking her back, screaming profanities so vile the band stopped playing. Embarrassment swept the entire room. A bystander rushed to intervene, and suddenly a fist flew straight into Pickett's face, knocking him flat onto a cocktail table. It was a moment that left everyone stunned. Even he hadn't expected that from a celebrated star. He would end up sprawled on the floor, surrounded by the contempt of the audience. The Memphis Commercial Appeal called it the most disgraceful self-destruction of the decade. On the night of December 20th, 1967, after another liquor-soaked party at the Drake Hotel in Chicago, Pickett returned to his room, the taste of whiskey still on his lips. On the table, a thin envelope was waiting. When he opened it, the familiar handwriting chilled him to the bone. Barbara had finally left, taking the children. No forgiveness, no hope of reconciliation. He collapsed onto the edge of the bed, crushing the paper in his fist, shoulders shaking in exhaustion. In that moment, all the fame and all the nights of excess vanished like cheap illusions. Only the absolute emptiness remained, the void he'd tried so hard to escape. His Zippo flame swallowed the letter into black ash, leaving a burnt smell hanging in the air. That night, he drank alone until dawn, no longer knowing whether he was crying or simply drunk. In the years that followed, Pickett kept singing, still celebrated, but inside remained a fracture that would never mend. 16. Rick James, the arrogant pleasure addict. Before you call me a monster, ask who taught me to love that madness. That was what Rick James blurted out when a reporter questioned him about his debauched lifestyle. Ever since Super Freak conquered the charts in 1981, Rick openly called himself a pleasure addict, shamelessly declaring, "I'm a sex addict, that's why I'm alive." The Street Songs tour became notorious for nightly parties. Velvet spread across the tables, dancers waiting in the wings, and a meticulously prepared list of backup bedmates. Rick even kept a detailed journal recording how many women he slept with each week, treating it like a tally of conquests. The climax came on the night of August 14, 1982, at the record plant in Los Angeles. Rick hosted the Super Freak Baptism, inviting 5 dancers he called the Nuns of Ecstasy. It began with 3 hours of white smoke, then each was ordered to anoint him with a mixture of champagne and perfume poured over his entire body. When security panicked over the screams echoing down the hallway, Rick hurled the microphone to the floor, his face flushed, shouting, "You can't stop the church!" But that empire began to rot by the late 80s. He sank into lawsuits, heavy addiction, and total loss of control. In 1993, Rick was arrested for false imprisonment and assault, a case that exposed the darkness he had hidden for years. Rick James died in 2004, leaving behind immortal funk records and a sordid legacy no one wanted to touch. 15. Billy Preston, the dark gospel soul. No one believed the organ angel could turn into a flesh addict. But I saw him, and he savored every second. Billy Preston was the chilling proof of a genius's dual nature. By day, he was enthralled with gospel. By night, he slipped into an endless hunt for pleasure. Throughout the 70s, Billy maintained his own list, naming the priority fans. Backstage, there were constant rumors he coerced young staff into bizarre audition nights. On the night of October 22, 1976, at the Continental Hyatt House in Los Angeles, he held an organ party. Suite 702 turned into a disco chapel with flickering pink lights. The organ played all night, but when a technician opened the door, he froze. Billy was clutching a microphone, singing gospel, lips quivering from a drug high, while being intimate with 2 naked dancers. The next morning, a female employee accused him of forcing her to join. The label hushed it up, but Billy's reputation was never the same. In his final years, he was tormented by the conflict between his faith and his desire. Billy died in 2006, carrying a question no one dared answer. What makes an angel fall so far? 14. Donny Hathaway, the lost soul. Donny Hathaway would step on stage with the calm of a preacher, but once the curtain fell, he collapsed into obsessions and desire he couldn't restrain. During the Extension of a Man tour in 1973, Donny kept 3 secret relationships at once, with a woman waiting in every city. Every hotel room held an old suitcase stuffed with dozens of letters, where he listed each woman's name, details of their clandestine nights, and cold confessions of regret he never dared to send. On November 6, 1974, in Chicago, Donny was found sitting on the floor of his hotel suite. Half a bottle of bourbon was empty, 2 fans' clothes scattered around the bed, the sheets wrinkled and stained with liquor. He didn't leave that spot all night, just stared at the list of lovers, then slumped against the youngest girl's chest, nearly unconscious. Security had to pry the door open after hours of glass breaking and sobbing. Nights like that repeated, interrupted by a few performances and worsening paranoia. By 1979, Donny was convinced he was being watched because of his uncontrollable affairs. On his final day, he locked himself in his 15th floor room at the Essex House, threw all the papers on the floor, and leapt out the window, leaving an open suitcase and walls smeared with dirty handprints. 13. Curtis Mayfield, the two-faced genius. Curtis Mayfield was the model of political soul music, but at night he became a relentless pursuer of pleasure. In the 70s, as Superfly dominated the charts, Curtis kept a private schedule for night duty. In each city, he had 3 numbers to call at any hour, always insisting the manager change the sheets before each visit. On September 23, 1972, after a show at the Fox Theater in Detroit, he brought 6 young women to his hotel room. Each was handed a glass of cognac and a packet of white powder. The main lights were off, leaving only dim yellow bulbs illuminating the rumpled blankets. Curtis played background tracks he'd recorded himself, then walked bed to bed, groping them and smirking when they trembled. The party lasted until dawn. When housekeeping knocked, they found the mirrors fogged with breath, cigarette butts covering the carpet, and 3 women still unclothed. Curtis sat on the edge of the bed, glass in hand, eyes swollen. He said nothing, only gestured for them all to get out. Those filthy nights never ruined his career, but friends said that for the rest of his life, Curtis shut himself in dark rooms, believing no one truly respected him if they knew the truth. 12. Jackie Wilson. The debauched showmanship. King. Jackie Wilson once made crowds faint on stage, but backstage he shocked everyone with his shameless sexual addiction. Court records documented at least 10 paternity lawsuits, not counting dozens of claims he paid hush money. In 1965 alone, 3 women sued him for child support in just 3 months, all happening at the same time. On Valentine's night, February 14, 1965, in New Orleans, Jackie rented an entire hotel floor just to host 4 intimate dancers. The party started with endless champagne, ending in shouting and brawling across the carpet. One witness described the chaos. 2 women clawed each other's shoulders bloody with jealousy, smearing blood on the sheets. When management called the police, Jackie locked the door, yelling for them to break it down. The police waited 3 hours. When the door finally opened, the room was littered with broken glass and discarded clothes. Jackie stood in the middle, exhausted grin, shirt unbuttoned, glass of liquor in hand. The voice that once enchanted millions was now just a bitter echo of a man trapped in vice. By 1975, he collapsed on stage. Jackie's last breath didn't come from a musical note, but from guilt he never atoned for. 11. Levi Stubbs, Motown's most elegant man with 2 illegitimate children. Everyone believed Levi Stubbs was Motown's most elegant gentleman, but in truth, that elegance only hid a ruthless habit. After every night melting thousands of hearts, Levi granted himself discreet orgies, his default reward for the applause. During the 1969 to 1970 European tour, he turned luxury hotels into his personal realm. Every night began the same, a tray of pre-mixed cocktails, carefully arranged fruit, and always at least one local girl waiting. Escorts recalled they were ordered to rotate the girls every few hours, so Levi wouldn't have to wake up next to the same face. On the night of October 19, 1969, at the Savoy Hotel in London, everything reached its peak. When the elevator opened at 4 a.m., Levi stepped out in a wrinkled shirt, eyes bloodshot. Behind him, 2 fan club dancers wore nothing but towels, barefoot, hair still wet. Soul music drifted from room 511, mingling with ragged laughter until dawn. In the morning, hotel management made him sign an official warning for the disturbance. Levi only bowed his head, hands trembling with exhaustion, and signed without a word. Though he never publicly admitted it, everyone knew he'd left behind 2 unacknowledged children who grew up on secret payments, the only proof of those nights of excess. 10. Chuck Jackson. The man who always needed a bedmate. If Chuck Jackson's voice once made women weep, he turned those tears into backstage entertainment. His habit left everyone speechless, an obsessive craving that wouldn't let him spend a single night alone. After Any Day Now exploded, he started booking hotel rooms with 2 beds, one for resting, the other for getting to know strange women. In every city, his list of women waiting to see him filled half a page. One assistant clearly remembered he marked stars beside the names of those who could keep quiet. Until August 27, 1964, in Cleveland, everything finally went too far. 3 women burst in, fighting over who had the right to stay the night. Police were called when the shouting carried through multiple floors. When security knocked, Chuck cracked the door open, face dripping with sweat, towel in hand. Inside, clothes were strewn everywhere, whiskey bottles rolling under the bed. A guard later said the look in his eyes was both confused and cold. After that night, Chuck earned the nickname Mr. Fast Love, the man who didn't sleep alone for hundreds of nights in a row. Over time, the spotlight faded. But what people remembered most wasn't the love songs. It was the memory of that messy room where he clung to flesh to forget he was growing old. 9. Major Lance. The dance of white powder and pleasure. You might think Major Lance only exploded on stage, but imagine the dressing room door closed tight, where all boundaries between music and indulgence were burned away. At the height of his fame, he turned himself into a dangerous man, surrounded by a mixture of opiates, liquor, and uncontrollable lust. In 1975, all those vices became shamelessly blatant. Lance practically lived in the sweet haze of smoke and the harsh blare of speakers blasting all night. He called it the vocal cord warm-up party, but everyone knew it was just an excuse to pull young women into a spiral of addiction. On the night of December 2, 1975, at the Aragon Ballroom in Chicago, security was forced to break down the dressing room door because of the screaming music. They walked in and froze. Lance was sprawled backward in a chair, his face ghostly pale, left hand gripping a glass of whiskey, right hand holding a strip of paper rolled with white powder he hadn't even bothered to discard. 2 girls giggled, their skirts hiked above the knee, their heels still dusted in white. The next morning, Lance still wore a smug smile, but that night marked the start of his final downfall. After one scandal after another, his performance contracts were canceled in quick succession. At the end of his life, he sat silent in a damp apartment, and no one cared to hear the name Soul Playboy who once terrified Chicago. 8. Syl Johnson, the woman collector, and the price paid, in his final days. There was a time when Syl Johnson boasted he understood women better than anyone in the soul scene. But in truth, he only knew how to turn them into trophies to fill his lonely nights. Throughout the 70s, Syl was infamous as the ladies' man, with the Chicago Tribune once sniping that no tour of his was complete without a line of female fans invited backstage. What sent chills down spines was his habit of keeping evidence of his conquests. He used a Polaroid to snap photos of each lover, noting the date and place, then stashed them in a locked wooden drawer. In 1974, he rented a private apartment in Chicago, just for regular guests, decked out with a rotating bed imported from New York and dim lighting like a nightclub. At those parties, Syl enforced a bizarre rule: never sleep with the same woman twice in a row in the same city. Each woman got a signed vinyl record, but never with her name, a reminder they were just one of the many women he'd spent the night with. Yet in his final years, those photos became a burden. In 2010, past 70, a Chicago woman went public with a 1973 Polaroid, demanding he acknowledge her child raised alone. When Syl died in 2022, his towering soul legacy was still overshadowed by that secret drawer holding hundreds of nameless faces. 7. Edwin Starr, the man seeking memories in strangers' bodies. Edwin Starr belted out, "War, what is it good for?" and shook the world, but few knew the life behind that song was one seeking solace in fleeting, raw nights. Colleagues dubbed him Mr. One Night, the collector of short-lived memories. During his early 70s UK tour, Edwin turned his tour bus into a rolling love den. Inside, whiskey, soul music, and brief encounters flowed endlessly. One night in 1971 in Sheffield, a security guard opened the bus door to find Edwin in the back with two women, glass in hand, muttering war lyrics, eyes vacant like a lost soul. After each fling, he sent postcards, a few words both tender and cruel. Dozens of those cards later surfaced, one reading, "You were my peace for one night. Don't write back." People called it heartless, but Edwin saw it as the only rule he believed in. In his final years, he settled quietly in England. In 2003, Edwin died suddenly of a heart attack in an empty home, leaving behind his legendary voice and a story of a wandering soul who never found a home. 6. Billy Paul, believing forbidden love was fate. Billy Paul became a household name across America with Me and Mrs. Jones, a song about a secret affair he always claimed was fiction. But later, many learned the truth. The song mirrored his own life. From 1972, when the track became a hit, Billy began a hidden relationship with a married woman. They met after shows in cheap Philadelphia hotels. On March 18, 1974, after a packed performance, he vanished for the night. The next morning, his assistant found him in a motel room, passed out beside an empty bottle and a woman who wasn't his wife. Nights like these repeated, always ending in regret. He lacked the courage to stop. Eventually, those secret one-night stands tore his family apart. His wife left, friends drifted away, and he convinced himself this habit fueled his singing. When Billy died in 2016, a strange wreath arrived at his funeral, its card bearing 4 words that silenced the room. Mrs. Jones was real. 5. Little Willie John. The fall of the Blues Prince and a prison end. Anyone who heard Little Willie John sing Fever would call him a rare blues voice. But few could believe the man on stage was the same bloodthirsty beast backstage. Many nights he turned tours into hunting grounds. After each show, Willie would pull 1 or 2 girls into a taxi, calling it a test of loyalty. But passion quickly turned to violent madness. One night in June 1964 in Seattle, 2 female fans fought over staying rights. In a flash, he roared, ripped off his jacket, and punched them until both bled and sobbed. Less than 6 months later, he stabbed a man to death over a petty argument. With no line left between pleasure and violence, Willie spiraled. An 8 to 20-year prison sentence was inevitable. On May 26, 1968, they found him dead on a filthy mattress, eyes wide open. In the end, all those nights humiliating others led him to one place, a morgue where no one cared to remember his name. 4. Eddie Kendricks, the man who never left his bed. Empty. Eddie Kendricks had a falsetto soft as mist, enough to melt any heart. But he was the one most afraid of breaking. During the Temptations' peak, Eddie kept a strange habit. He never let his bed stay empty. Each night, he picked a new woman, chose a tailored suit, a specific cologne, as if turning them into props for a romantic role. Christmas 1972, he gave 3 women monogrammed cufflinks, then slipped away before dawn, leaving rumpled sheets and 3 humiliated souls. It wasn't just nameless fans. Even stars like Diana Ross and Martha Reeves landed on his one-night target list. Each encounter was a temporary fix, masking a deep fear he couldn't face. By 1991, lung cancer eroded his voice and his facade. When Eddie died in 1992, people mourned his gifted voice, but all knew he'd let his heart rot amid countless nameless nights. 3. Millie Jackson, the queen of seduction and endless nights of passion. If Little Willie John burned the night with violence, Millie Jackson blurred all boundaries with words and flesh. When it hurts, So Good rocked the radio in 1974, Millie made herself an unapologetic sex symbol. But behind her provocative, raspy voice was a string of nights lonely to the point of pathetic. Backstage on tour, she had a habit that annoyed her band. After each show, she'd pick a random man, musician, guard, even a new fan, and drag him into a dark dressing room. A technician recalled pushing open a door to find Millie on a leather chair, skirt hiked to her thighs, clutching a whiskey glass, eyes blank as someone knelt before her. The next morning, she didn't bother asking their names. She'd wipe off her lipstick, button her shirt, and walk out like nothing happened. Her seduction queen fame grew alongside a list of endless nights until even she couldn't tell pleasure from the punishment she inflicted on herself. 2. Joe Tex, the Soul King, and Hundreds of Filthy Rooms. But Millie wasn't alone in feeding a pleasure addiction to fill an inner void. Joe Tex, the Soul King of I Gotcha, slid down the same path. After each show, he skipped the main hotel for a small, discreet room a few blocks away, a secret hideout for clandestine meetups. A maid recalled he carried a short list, 3 or 4 women ready to drop by anytime. August 1975, Houston, a night cooled by hard liquor and jealousy. 3 women argued over who belonged to him, glasses shattered, blood and vodka stained the floor. Joe calmly adjusted his sleeves, ignoring their sobs. Later, he said he just wanted to feel desired, even for one night. When he died in 1982, people remembered his captivating voice and the hundreds of filthy rooms he left behind. 1. Fontella Bass. The woman seeking solace in every stranger's arms. Fontella Bass once believed "Rescue Me" was a promise to save herself. But after the song exploded in 1965, she sank deeper into one-night stands to fill a nameless void. During her 1966 tour, bandmates said she always booked the top-floor room, separate from the crew, and told the front desk to have whiskey and a private elevator key ready. Every night, Fontella returned with a stranger's face. A backup musician, a tech, sometimes just a lucky fan she'd eyed. A colleague once saw her at dawn, slumped by the bed in her stage dress, clutching a whiskey glass, eyes empty as a strange man dressed and left without a word. Summer 1967, scandals erupted. Tabloids splashed a front-page photo of her leaning on a married man backstage in Chicago, headlined, "Fontella Bass, Soul Queen or Pleasure Addict." Those smears nearly cost her contracts, and her family turned away. From then, each one-night stand grew more bitter. When she died in 2012, people still played "Rescue Me," but forgot she'd never been saved from the loneliness she chose. So, after 21 shocking secrets, it turns out the black legends the world worshipped were just tattered souls, wandering in their own dark rooms, trading immortal voices for fleeting nights of pleasure. They were hailed as gods, left audiences breathless with emotion, but behind the curtain, only hurried breaths, shattered bottles, and quiet child support receipts remained. What do you think? Geniuses or sinners? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.